Hello, welcome to the Live to 110 podcast. My name is Wendy Myers, and you can find me on live to110.com and my new healing and detox program, mineralpower.com. I have a new website coming up, probably mid-February it'll be up, and it's really going to be amazing, a beautiful showcase for my healing program that I'm very, very proud of called Mineral Power. So check that out mid-February. Today we have a guest on, Shannon Drake. I met her at the Bulletproof Conference, the Dave Asprey's Bulletproof Conference, and she was so nice and she gave me a little taste of her MCT oil toothpaste, and I was very, very impressed with the product, and I really enjoy using it myself. It's a toothpaste that I use. I really like the flavor so much. It's very, very unique. So I started using it on a regular basis and very, very happy with it and very impressed with the rest of her product line. She has some very interesting products. I'm really, as a female, very into personal care products, and I love, trying out all the latest new products. And so I really enjoy her stuff. And so I wanted to have her on the show to talk about, your oral care. I think it's an area that people need to consider detoxing because, a lot of people are just kind of on automatic pilot using their same old toothpaste that they've been using for years, not realizing how toxic they are. So we're going to talk about that today on the show. Please keep in mind that this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult your healthcare practitioner before doing anything that we suggest today on the show. This show is for informational purposes only. Our guest today is Shannon Drake. She's a serial entrepreneur and a wellness alchemist and spiritual realm trailblazer. Deemed a cultural revolutionary by Dr. Christopher Ryan, she has created and launched over 30 consumer products in the personal care, nutrition, and medical marijuana industries. When Shannon is not balancing on the bleeding edge of human optimization, she can be found deepening her Kundalini yoga practice and busting out some ecstatic dance moves, or inspiring those around her to live to their fullest in her home in Los Angeles, California, right near me. You can find her at her projects, givemethedirt.com, where you can buy her products and tooth care products, and at jambosuperfoods.com. That's JAMBO superfoods.com. Shannon, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, it's a pleasure to talk to you.
I met you at the Bulletproof Conference, and it was nice. You were walking around with your backpack full of all your goodies, and you gave me this MCT oil rose cacao mint toothpaste with MCT oil, and I thought, wow, that's really cool. And I love how you said it tastes like a wedding party in your mouth.
Yeah, one of our at Paleo FX like 2 years ago, someone was brushing their teeth in our booth and they were trying it and they're like, it's like a wedding party in your mouth.
Yeah.
I was like, can I use that? She's like, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and it does taste like that. I love it. It has a really nice flavor, and I don't know, it's really nice packaging. I just really like your products.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I take a lot of pride in not only making products that like taste amazing and are natural, but that like look sexy. Like you want to leave them out on your counter so people will see them and think you're cool.
Yeah. Well, why don't you tell us a little about your story and your background and, how you got so interested in oral health?
Yeah. Well, I've always been a person who likes to make things. Ever since I was a little kid, I was always running around the backyard, putting leaves and flowers together and giving it as potpourri to my grandma, and as I got older, I became more health conscious. In high school, I stopped drinking soda and I started learning about organic foods. And right after that, my dad got cancer. So I became extra aware of what you put in your body. As I got more and more into the health food scene and I got better about what I was eating, I started to notice all the products I was putting on myself. I'm a big label reader, so when I'm in the shower and I'm washing my hair, I'm like reading the shampoo bottle while I'm doing it. And one day I was like in there washing my hair, looking at the shampoo, and I was like, what the hell is in my shampoo? There's all these chemicals, all these weird things. And my first life, I was an artist. Mm-hmm. So I have a really in-depth knowledge of what goes into industrial materials.
Yeah.
And when I recognized a lot of the same materials that were in my oil paint that I have to wear gloves and a mask to use were in my shampoo, it completely changed how I thought about topical products.
Yeah.
So I started making all my own stuff, started giving it to friends. And as I became a little more prolific in gifting my items, my friends started to be like, you should sell these. These are great. I really like it. It tastes good. It works well. And it took me about 3 years of convincing to quit my job as a marketing consultant and start the Dirt, which started with the lip balm first. I got into that. Everything I've done has been out of solving my own problems. I got a really bad sunburn on my face when I went camping like 10 years ago, and none of the lip balms worked. I tried everything. So I made one myself. And it worked really well. So then I started making tooth powders because I found out about, how industrial glycerin is made and how like just horrible tooth care products are really, really strange. Most mainstream toothpaste have plastic in the paste. It's not the tube, it's in the paste.
Yeah. Yeah, tell us more about the toxic ingredients in toothpaste. A lot of it, they just don't think about it. They've just been using these mainstream toothpaste their whole life. They like the taste, and they're just kind of on automatic pilot and not thinking about, detoxing that particular area of their personal care products.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of very strange things that go into toothpaste. Some of the ones that most people probably have heard of or know about is fluoride. Fluoride is basically a poison. The type of fluoride that goes into toothpaste is not natural fluoride. It's industrial waste product fluoride, and they're slightly different. There's SLS, sodium lauryl sulfate, which is an irritant, and it's especially irritating for mucous membranes, so your mouth. There are propylene glycol. There's all kinds of crazy things you can't even pronounce. And that's a majority of the paste. A very small part of it is the silica and the flavoring.
Yeah, they put titanium in it too to make it white, which is can be a toxic metal.
Yeah. It's endless. And if you want to see something really scary, go to any big box store and find the preschooler toothpaste that is safe to swallow and look what's in that. I almost cried when I flipped over this little kid's toothpaste with Elmo on the front of it, and it was just full of chemicals.
Yeah.
That's safe to swallow. That's not safe to swallow. So I got really passionate about changing oral care because you ingest it. Even if you spit it out, you're swallowing it 2 to 3 times a day, microdosing.
Yeah, and you have these mucous membranes. You're absorbing everything really well into your system.
Yeah, you put medicine under your tongue to absorb it. Guess where the toothpaste goes? Right under your tongue too. So it's just it's a sneaky way that people ingest a lot of funky ingredients they don't think about.
Yeah, and then also let's talk about mouthwashes and how toxic mouthwashes are. I use Listerine for years, and it's got the FD&C green and FD&C blue and all these food colorings. They do use some essential oils like thyme oil and eucalyptus oil, and that's that's a little bit redeeming. But it's very, very irritating, and it really hurts your mouth when you use it. Yeah,
well, mouthwash is pretty much purely a cosmetic thing. It makes your breath super fresh, like you've mopped out the bathroom floor with bleach. But it kills all of the bacteria in your mouth, not just the harmful bacteria. So much like your intestines and your stomach have probiotics in them, so does your mouth. And those little probiotics take care of your gums and your teeth, and they help digest different elements of your food and your saliva. So when you're using mouthwash, you're just nuclear bombing your entire mouth and destroying the natural ecosystem that helps keep your teeth healthy, which proliferates needing, a special toothpaste, which needs more dental care, which needs this, and it's a vicious cycle of product dependence.
Yeah, my favorite mouthwash is Manuka honey. Because it's amazing. I used it because I had an H. pylori infection a while ago, and I was using Manuka honey to kill it, and I found I woke up with amazingly fresh breath every morning because it was killing all the bacteria in my mouth.
Yeah, I do. I'll do a salt water with some essential oils in it, which it takes a hot second to get used to switching with salt water. Yeah. But then after you get used to it, your mouth feels great. And it's simple. You just use pink salt, make a saline solution, swish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can
Oil
sim
pulling is really fun too. I love oil pulling.
with coconut oil.
Yeah, I made we're actually, oh, you're the first to know.
Mm.
We're launching an oil pulling oil in about a month.
Nice.
And yeah, it's really good. It's got
Yeah. Yeah, tell
sesame
us
oil,
about that.
coconut oil. Oh,
Tell us about that. It's an ancient Ayurvedic technique to pull
yeah.
bacteria out of the mouth, correct?
Yeah, it's been done for thousands of years. Traditionally, they use either sesame oil or neem oil. But, us Americans, we are obsessed with coconut oil right now. So everyone started doing it with coconut oil, which is great because coconut oil is naturally antibacterial. Uh, I like to do a little mix of the ancient and the modern. So when I formulated mine, I did a blend of the sesame and the coconut, which makes it a lot easier to swish. I find that coconut oil gets like foamy, kind of. It like gets a weird texture to it, but the sesame oil doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So we blended those with some beautiful essential oils, turmeric, rose, mint, a little clove to make this just delicious concoction that I use as both oil pulling and a mouthwash.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's great. It's great. They recommend you do it for 20 minutes. I mean, I'm an oral care person and I've only made it up to 15 minutes.
Hmm. Yeah.
But it's one of those things like if you just do it at all, it counts.
Yeah.
You're doing something. It's
Yeah.
like yoga. You just show up. You just have to show up and do it.
Yeah.
So,
So I saw on your website that you have a copper tongue scraper, and I thought that was really unique because all the ones that I've seen are plastic, and I kind of, I use one, but with a little caution because I don't really want to be putting plastic in my mouth. But I thought that was interesting that yours is copper because copper kills germs and it kill in the body. So why don't you tell us about your tongue scraper and why it's important to use one?
yeah. Well, the plastic tongue scrapers also, you're creating more plastic waste, which we know is horrible for the environment, and they break. A copper tongue scraper is not going to break unless you run it over.
Mm-hmm.
And as you mentioned, they're antibacterial. It's also traditionally what was used. So they're also an Ayurvedic tradition from scraping your tongue. And they use copper. So I stuck to the books with that one. And part of the benefits of scraping your tongue is I'm sure everyone has had the experience where they wake up in the morning and it feels like they have a white woolly sweater on their tongue.
Yeah.
All that bacteria and residue just lives there. So when you scrape your tongue, you're basically just evicting all of those freeloaders off your tongue and starting fresh. It helps improve your breath. It helps improve your oral care. And it's more effective than brushing your tongue because the bristles on a toothbrush are very soft. So they just kind of like rub. Whereas the tongue scraper actually, scrapes that layer off. And if you do it every morning, you'll see a much fresher breath within 2 weeks.
Yeah,
It's
I
great.
notice a huge difference in my breath when I do tongue scraping because if you brush, you're just kind of like moving it around, on
Yeah,
your
it's
tongue.
like, oh, it looks like after you mow a lawn and there's lines in the lawn.
Yeah.
Kind of worked.
Yeah, so tell us about some of your other products. You have some face oils and you have a couple other different products. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, so we have skin serums, shaving oils. We're launching a beard oil and fragrances. And I'm a big fan of fragrance, but not a big fan of chemicals. So when I launched our skincare line, I wanted to make products that worked really well, and the base of them was beautiful natural plant oils, but that also smelt really good. Like something a grown person would want to smell like, not like, not anything chemically, not some hippie stuff, like something really good. So we formulated 3 scents that all smell good, and the essential oils I use are beneficial to your skin, so you get the dual purpose there. And they come in matching scents, so you can get a skin serum, a fragrance, and a shaving oil. Or if you're a man, you can get a beard oil. That they all smell the same, so you get that nice sort of long-lasting scent that's not overpowering,
Yeah.
and you get the benefits of all the natural oils without any funky preservatives in them.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how toxic traditional fragrances are. The synthetic petroleum-based fragrances, they're very estrogenic. They contain phthalates that are present at 1,000 times more than other chemicals in our body. And they promote estrogen dominance and estrogen dominant or estrogen dependent cancers. And people are just slathering themselves every single day
Oh my
in
God.
these toxic chemicals in their cleaners, in their face products, and spraying it on themselves. And it's amazing when people aren't really paying attention to the products that they're using, how many chemicals can build up. Women use an average of 126 products a day on their body. They can get so many different chemicals
Yeah.
from those. Can you talk a little about that?
Yeah. I mean, I think when I talk to a lot of people and they're asking me, why should I use natural products? And like, there's so many chemicals in it. And they're like, oh, but I just use a little bit. And people don't realize the accumulation over a day, over a week, over a month, over your entire lifetime of all these little doses of chemicals. And a lot of products have the same chemicals in them. So it's not the trace amount in your lipstick. It's the trace amount in your lipstick, in your shampoo, in your eyeliner, in your mouthwash. And there's not a good way to study the effects. So when everyone's like, there's no scientific research, there's no this. If you understand how the scientific method works, it's not set up to measure such a delicate and complicated situation as like a human life with 120 products. They just can't do it. So while these products are in microdoses, we know that they're carcinogens. We just don't know at what level they affect us in a daily life. So why not just avoid them? There's so many options of great products that are natural and don't have these things in the first place. So play it safe. You have one body your whole life. Take care of it,
Yeah, and the CDC did a study. They do a report about every 5 years that shows that on average, people have 500 chemicals in their body.
Wow.
And and these are underlying root cause of disease and our health symptoms and fatigue and brain fog and et cetera,
Yeah.
et cetera. And so you really have to control, every little thing that you can in your environment, including your oral health care and your personal care products, as
It's
much as you
true.
can.
It's true. We live in a world full of toxins, and the least thing we can do is control our own personal environment. We have a little domain over that.
So let's go back to the toothpaste and the tooth care products that you have. So you have like the MCT oil here that I have.
Hmm.
It's really cute and perfect travel size. And you also have tooth powders as well. Can you talk
Yeah.
about those?
Yeah. So tooth powders they're old school. Tooth powders were around before toothpastes. They're basically just a dry toothpaste. So it's a blend. Ours is a blend of clays, herbs, and essential oils with a little baking soda. And the way you use them is you just wet your toothbrush, tap it in there. You're going to tap off the excess because you don't need a lot. And then you just brush like normal. What I love about the tooth powders is a little bit goes a really long way. So we have a little like 2-inch jar. It'll last you 6 months. 6 months. There's no liquid, so you can fly with it. You can take them backpacking. They're really amazing. I really like them, and they're very simple. And if you're a person who has a lot of sensitivities to things, tooth powders are great because they're as basic as it can get and as effective as it can get.
Are there any tips you can give the listener, like some quick tips that they can use to improve their oral health care?
Definitely. So your dentist always tells you to floss. That's always number one. Just floss. Just do it. Just once a day.
Yeah. I know a lot
Just
of
three
people, they
minutes.
just don't want to do that. But I just know some people that never floss. And
I
it's
know.
so disgusting because if I say, for whatever reason, I go like 5 days without flossing and I floss, I'm like, oof, that's really
Yeah.
disgusting because it stuff's on the floss. But if you do it every day consistently, your mouth is far more clean.
Yeah. So the way I get people to floss, it's a little gross. I tell them, okay, floss and then smell it.
Yeah.
And I guarantee the person will floss because that's what everyone else is smelling your breath as.
Yeah.
For
And
vanity's purposes only, floss your teeth. For health
yeah,
purposes, double.
if you have someone at work that they have really bad breath, then you know who they are. You
Buy
know,
them some floss.
they're not flossing and they're not getting their teeth cleaned and not using good products.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
it's really important to do that every day because you break up the bacteria colonies. That's what you're
Hmm.
doing. You're breaking up the bacteria colonies so they don't flourish as much. And you just do that on a consistent basis and
Yeah.
you have better breath.
Yeah. So flossing is always good. Scraping your tongue is great. Super simple way to really improve your breath and your health. Um, Exercising. People don't realize that fitness is connected to everything about your body. And your teeth have very tiny, tiny little blood channels that go into them and feed nutrition into your dentine. And just like your hands get cold if you have bad circulation, those tiny little arteries in your teeth don't get good circulation either. So you're not feeding your teeth from the inside. So you need to do some sort of exercise,
Yeah,
at least stretch.
boost that circulation.
Yeah,
So it
get your
goes to your
circulation
teeth.
up.
Yeah.
It's true. Some other fun things that people don't realize, massage your face. You would be surprised how much tension you get in your face every day, and that tightness and clenching puts pressure on your teeth and your enamel and causes micro cracks in your teeth, which on their own aren't really dangerous, but they just contribute to the structural degradation of your teeth.
Yeah.
Those are two of my fun little ninja tricks people never think of. Uh, you know, use oil pulling. If you have gum recession or pockets in your gums, you can get oral irrigators, which are these little syringes. Fill them up with saline, and you can irrigate out those pockets to keep food from accumulating there. That's really important if you're older or you've had a history of gum problems. And then eat well. You want to make sure you get all the nutrients that your teeth need. So you need to get calcium, you need to get phosphorus, vitamin K, B12, all the really hard ones to get if you don't have a good diet. They're all the rich foods. So all those like traditional foods like liver and dark leafy greens, organ meats, raw milks are really great. You want to stay away from grains and beans. They're not so good for your teeth. And if you do eat them, you want to soak them or ferment them. And then I would just recommend people look up the Weston A. Price Foundation. They're an awesome resource for ancestral oral care.
Yeah.
Really like them.
Yes, yes, yeah. I had a lot of information about teeth on their website.
Yeah.
The
It'll
diet
blow
that
your
leads to
mind.
healthy teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because since Weston A. Price was a dentist.
Yeah.
And I have an interesting fact for the listeners. For any of you people that grind your teeth, I used to have a big problem with tooth grinding, and grinds down your teeth, and that can be caused by mercury toxicity. So with me detoxing my mercury, that is completely stopped. And I thought it was just like an emotional thing, or I was stressed, or something of that nature. But it was really just due to my mercury toxicity from my sushi addiction that I've since now detoxed. I'm still detoxing, but it's a process. But so Shannon, I have a question I like to ask all of my guests.
Great.
What do you think is the most pressing health issue in the world today?
Ooh, health issue. I mean, I really think that obesity is a big problem. It causes a lot of health issues, and I think more importantly, it causes self-esteem issues. And when you don't feel good about yourself, it's hard to care about other people and the environment around you when you feel uncomfortable in your own body. It's hard to take care of the outside world when you have a hard time taking care of your inside world. So for me, that's something I'm really passionate about. I've seen a lot of my family get really unhealthy in their older age and get a lot of really chronic diseases that are preventable. So I think just being intentional about what we're putting in our body and what our cells are then created out of, because your cells are made out of the food you eat every day. It's not like the cells are just existing and they're creating themselves. Like what you eat powers your entire body. So you are what you eat is a very passionate thing for me.
Yeah, me too. Because, like you mentioned, your father was diagnosed with cancer. So is my father as well. And he was obese his entire life. And he was, addicted to food and was obese from a child. His childhood photos, he's overweight as well as how I remember him as an adult. And unfortunately, he passed away from cancer. But he had all of the diseases, preventable diseases as a result of his obesity, the metabolic syndrome
Hmm.
with the high blood pressure and heart disease and high blood sugar, high cholesterol, etc. You have the trifecta. And and then high blood sugar consistently leads to cancer
Hmm.
and whatnot. So it's a huge, huge problem. And that's the fate of all the little children today that we see that are overweight. That's their fate in the future as well.
Yeah.
And it is completely preventable. So that's why we do what we're doing.
Exactly. Exactly.
So why don't you tell the listeners more about you and where they can find you and your products?
Yeah, so you can find all of my products at givemethedirt.com. We are in a couple boutiques around the country. We're mostly online right now, but we're getting into a couple bigger grocery chains. And then about me, you can find me on my websites and Instagram, doing all the social media stuff. And we're actually moving to a new location where we're going to have a yoga studio. So once that's up, we'll be advertising all of our yoga and health classes. So keep an eye on givemethedirt.com.
Where's your location, or where's it going to be?
One of two places. So we're just locking in our lease right now. It's either going to be in West Hollywood, California, or in Oakland, California.
Oh, okay. Well, those are
Yeah,
pretty far away from each other.
they are. They are. It depends on who has the more perfect location.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on that. That sounds like a really interesting project.
Thank
And
you.
thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, it was great talking with you.
Thank you. And listeners, if you want to learn more about me, you can go to live110.com and my healing and detox program. You can learn more about that at mineralpower.com. Thank you so much for listening to the Live to 110 podcast. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Wendy. I'm really excited to have the opportunity. I know this has kind of been a very anticipated moment, so
Yeah.
I'm excited that we're finally getting to do it.
I know we had a lot of fits and starts because I was sick for a few weeks over the holidays, and so we were scheduled it, and then we had to cancel and schedule it. So I'm happy we're finally doing the interview.
Me too. And the good news is you're better just in time for the holidays.
Yes, yes, I'm very, very happy. So I was sick leading up to the holidays. So luckily I'm healthy and happy for Christmas coming up.
That's right.
So why don't you
Good.
tell the
That's good.
listeners a little bit about yourself and your story?
All right. Well, I am a registered dietitian. I decided to go the route of becoming a dietitian, I guess, later in life. When I was 18 years old, I was diagnosed with a kidney disease. And at the time, I was not a full-time student. So I got kicked off my parents' health insurance, got pregnant shortly after, had to go through clinics, had really bad experiences, got really sick. So came to the realization that if I didn't clean up my life, I was going to end up being on dialysis or kidney transplant. And unfortunately, I had a cousin who was a female, and at the age of 30, she died from from kidney complications from the same kidney disease that I was diagnosed
Wow,
with.
that will change your
So I knew what the
perspective.
outcome was.
That'll change your
Pardon?
perspective.
Absolutely. And being that I was a young mom, I was only 19 years old, I have this baby, and I'm like, all right, I've got to figure out what I need to do so I can take care of her as well. So with that, that's kind of where my pursuit for knowledge began. Back in the day, I didn't have Google. I had to go to the library and, check out books and read them. And so with that, I discovered that there were specific lifestyle practices that I could incorporate to hopefully stabilize my condition where it was. You can never improve it, but hopefully, keep it from getting worse. And I started implementing those practices, had a lot of success, and so I became very passionate about it. And when my youngest daughter went to kindergarten, I decided to pursue an education and kind of be the middleman. I felt like there was a big disconnect between what the doctors tell you when they give you a diagnosis and how you can preserve your health that you have without having to be on medication. So I wanted to kind of be the middleman who simplified it for people. I realized not everyone has the desire or the willpower to put in the effort and energy that I did. So fast forward, I went through school, had to go the route